preparing to live stream the meeting. Thank God. Okay, thank you, Ben. All right, brother. It's all good. It's all good. I feel it's all good. We'll laugh about it later. Maybe. All right, bro. I'll let you go. Bye.
We're live.
All right. What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Big Willie. Except for being on the weekends, we are going to be on a Tuesday, as I've mentioned, Taco Tuesday. Poor David Weiss. And now, why? I'm supposed to ask you before we start. Is it Wise or Weiss?
Weiss like ice.
Weiss like ice. I love it. For anybody who might be in the chat, I can see it on here, but we are streaming with Zoom. As I mentioned before, you guys feel free to ask questions if you have them. I will try to intermittently get them in there if possible. But David said he's wide open for any questions. So if you guys got them, bring them our way. You might also notice that we have a poll set up in here for those that are curious. I didn't know how it was going to work out with Zoom, and you can answer some of those questions along the way and kind of have fun with each other as well. A couple things really quick. This coming Saturday, 9 p.m., I will be back to my normal time, and we will have one and only Kelvin Parker. And I'm very interested in this story. This is a bit of an older story for anybody who knows about this one, but I'm very excited to have him on and hang out and hear his story that happened many years ago, and Joe and Ben have talked about prior as well. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else really to mention. Dave, what I'd love to do is right off the bat, guys, and I always do this, everything that I talk about usually have in the show notes. If it's not in there, get a hold of me, let me know. I will get you the link for it, but there should be a link in the show notes for the app that you might hear Dave mention here a couple of times. I just want to scroll down and see. I can see it in there. So it is in there as well as his YouTube channel that you can go check out. Many other interviews he's done. In case I am extremely boring for you guys tonight, and you're like, all right, I want a little more of this guy. I want to see what Dave's all about. And really quick too, guys, we'll mention this. We'll get out of the way because poor Dave is long story. I'll tell you guys later, but he's been a trooper on his end. I'll tell you that right now. Manscaped. If you guys use the promo code UFO Garage, all capitalized, you will get 20% off plus free shipping on your order. So please check that out and feel free to go and see what you may need for venturing to the nether regions, and it will help support the show. So we really appreciate that. Dave, I want to thank you first and foremost. A big thank you for being so patient, incredibly patient to get live here and coming on and hanging out tonight. So welcome to the show. How's your Tuesday or how's your Wednesday? Whatever day it is anyway. Is it a Wednesday? Is that what we agree?
I believe today is Wednesday. Yeah. Going great. My third interview today, and beautiful day.
Very nice. Very nice. So, all right, well, let's jump into this. I'll give my little 2 cents on something, and then I got some questions because I feel that can't leave you hanging out there, right? We got to have questions for you. You're here to answer questions. People have questions. So when it comes to flat Earth, I first heard about it myself 5-6 years ago, maybe, and I heard rumors of it, but I initially heard someone taking it serious, and then they put out a Netflix series. I can't to be honest with you, I don't remember who the guy was, but I remember watching that thing. What was his name? Do you know what his name was?
The name of Mark Sargent you're talking about. It wasn't a Netflix series. It was a deception put on by Netflix to, it was a complete and total hit piece. They edited it in a way that it made it look like we were proving the globe, when in fact everyone there was like, that kind of looks like the Earth is flat. I mean, it was a total deception, and it was, but there's so many people though that saw that and go, "Oh, flat Earth is stupid." Okay, it's right up there with the Flat Earth Society.
Mm-hmm.
So it was called what was it called? It was called Behind the Curve or something like that. Is that the one you're talking about?
Sounds about right. I think it was, and it was like you said, it was just
there. It is
45 minutes now. That is the one, Behind the Curve. Yeah,
and Netflix Deception.
Yes, I watched that with my wife, and there were elements of it. I'm liking it. It's interesting. It
was a movie. It was a love story. They made it in a movie, but the 2 experiments that they showed, I'll just tell one at the end, where they were using a laser to go through these 3 holes, which would prove that the Earth is flat if it could do it. But the laser melted. It was too powerful of a laser. The condenser melted. So then they're just playing with a light, and they held the light up high, the length of my arm, not 2 feet, 3 feet. And the guy goes, "Oh, I see it now." Right. And bring it down. And he couldn't see it. And Jaron, the guy doing the experiment, goes, "Oh, interesting," right? But if the Earth was curved, his arm would have to be like 20 feet tall for him to be able to see it, right?
Yeah.
And then when he brought it down a second time after they edited it, they cut it, we could see, right? So that kind of leans towards the Earth is flat, but everyone there goes too many things. The ballers and the globers and the flat earthers together. This didn't prove anything. If it proved anything, it proved that the Earth is flat. But we all walked away. Netflix edited it to make it look like we're hiding, failed experiments, when the opposite is true. Every experiment for axial rotation and curvature has failed all through time. All of the big experiments that you didn't learn about in school by all of the accredited scientists, they've all failed. So when people say, you asked me before the show when we were trying to set up the show, having some technical difficulties.
Yeah,
is it harder? Is it is this harder than is it? Explaining to people that the Earth is flat is harder than this. And I said, no, it's not. It's just there is. I'm at a loss for words here, but I'll put it this. I'll throw it back to you. Is people go, there's no proof of flat Earth, and there's tons of proof of the globe. Nothing could be farther from the truth. There are countless proofs of flat Earth and zero proofs of the globe. So much that I have my flat Earth app challenge. Give me one proof of the globe, you win 3 Bitcoins.
We have heard. And I was telling people about it. I was mentioning it to him. I said, hey, he's got this. And I put the app out there for some of the people early. So if they wanted to get on, because you did say, to be clear, guys, to be fair, you said, get on there. You got your top 21 questions, which to be fair, guys, I've downloaded the app. I got it a couple months ago because I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go try and interview this guy. I want to know, right? I want to know Mr. Weiss here. I said, I should know what he's talking about, because as I talked to you before we started the episode here, I said, I feel like any conversation that has polarizing points of views generally takes place in this very disingenuous kind of manner. And it could be anything. But what I like to see is a commonality of, we can have differing points of views, but let's at least try and understand where the other person is coming from. Absolutely. And not shout them down and all that stuff.
And here's another thing. We know as flat earthers that there's lots of things that we don't know. We know it. We don't know what the moon is. We don't know how big the moon is. We don't know how far it is, right? We don't know a lot of things. Globers think they know everything. They say the sun is 93 million miles away. How did they figure that out? And everyone goes, well, somebody figured it out, right? And the way they figured it out is such nonsense. The way they figured out how far the sun was, and by the way, it keeps changing. They keep changing it, was when Venus transited the sun. Well, they know Venus is about the same size as Earth, so they did some math, and when it started transiting from the East Coast versus if you were on the West Coast, there was a time difference. They did some great calculus, and they figured out the distance of the sun. The problem with that equation is they assumed Venus was the same size as Earth. When I say Venus is no bigger than a beach ball, you can't prove me wrong, okay? So, again, when you assume a number in an equation, the entire equation is nonsense. Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, without having and that's where it turns into, I guess you could say Scientology, without any evidence to back your claim, or it's at very least a hypothesis, right? It's in the realm of an unknown certainty. Right. And to be fair, guys, too, I want to say that to the audience that is listening, because we do have people on there right now. And guys, again, I did write it, but in case you're listening, try to put your question in caps, because I'm going between 2 screens, and I'll try to catch it if I missed it. Okay. But to have this conversation, I've asked people to do this before. I said, listen, a lot of us are into UFOs. Some could feel there's a lot more evidence for that than the flat Earth subject for those that are hearing it the first time. But I want to say, please, let's just try and what we always say, Dave, is you and I we've jumped an old blue. It's this old van I used to have. We're traveling the cosmos. We're going to try, right? Maybe we can only go so far with it, but we're going to try and see where the conversation goes. And I'd like you guys that are listening to just hear him out, see what he's saying, see if it makes sense. And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But if nothing else, I think it's going to leave you with a few questions. It's left me with questions. And I'll be really honest with you, Dave. When I first started looking at it 6 years ago, I didn't want to, because the back of my head, I was like, we're a really curious guy. And if this starts to catch it all, I don't want to believe in flat Earth, right? I don't want to be the flat Earth guy. And I don't want to lose my stars. I don't want to lose my astronomy.
You know what?
I loved all that,
you don't want to lose your space travel and your aliens, but I can
Exactly.
save all that for you and I can make it even more real. Okay.
Okay.
Because when you're talking about aliens coming from distant stars, do you know how far the closest star is? Probably not, right?
30, yeah. 33. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, 33 something light years or whatever it is, or 30,
No, it's 4.5 light years away,
oh, four and a half. Okay.
which is 25 trillion miles of 25 trillion miles. People go, well, how far is 25 trillion miles? Well, if you were going a mile a second, right? After 1 trillion seconds, you've gone 1 trillion miles, right? A mile a second
Correct.
times a trillion seconds. How long is 1 trillion seconds?
30. I've heard it close before. I've heard
31,000
Yeah.
years. Okay. So if you're traveling a mile a second, which is unfathomable,
Mhm.
after 31,000 years, you're only 1/25th of your way to the closest star. The other ones are magnitudes farther. And you believe that aliens are coming from these stars and crashing in Roswell, when in fact, maybe they're crashing in the outer space here on Earth. This is not flat Earth. Okay. No flat earther believes this is flat Earth. What flat Earth is this is where we live. It's like a giant pond, and
Mhm.
all of the continents are the islands. They're all surrounded by water, but the water needs a container. It's surrounded by the highest land on Earth, right? The highest land in an area where there's water is the edge of that puddle, the edge of that pond, right? A puddle has an edge, and that's because the land is higher than the surface of the water. Antarctica is not a continent at the bottom of the ball. Antarctica is the shoreline of our world pond. It is the container of our pond. And out here, what's out here? Well, no one's allowed to go there. No one is allowed to go there when they say that there's land bigger than the United States out there that Admiral Byrd discovered in the 1950s.
Mhm.
Bigger than the United States, filled with resources that no human has ever set foot upon, set eyes upon, and nobody could explore there. We're in wars for resources and all sorts of stuff. And then they're like, oh, resources, coal, uranium, everything we need out there. No one could go there. And they made the Antarctic Treaty. Everybody signed on, and it's the longest standing treaty ever. It's still in effect today from 1959, and you can't even question it until the year 2041. What's going on out here? Okay. Maybe the world is set up like this. This is where we live. This ring is Antarctica. You with me? This
Mhm.
ring's like 1,000 miles wide. So don't think it's just a little wall. It's land. It's 1,000 miles wide. Look at the United States. Antarctica is huge. And what's beyond Antarctica in the outer space? Oh, more territory, extra terra. So you've heard me say this probably if you've been listening.
I have. I've been studying you.
Somebody listen. Somebody lived out there on the extra terra. What would you call them?
They'd be extraterrestrials.
And if they
right?
came to visit us, where are they coming from?
The extra territory,
Outer
essentially.
space.
Or yeah, it'd be outer space.
The outer
yeah.
space, the inner space, right? Why are all of the largest telescopes in the world in all of the southern lands? That they're in South Africa and Santiago and New Zealand, and they're all, and they're not looking up; they're looking out.
South.
They're looking out south.
You know, I think too, to hit on this a little bit, with that, because that's a fair question for anybody who's studied ufology a little bit and cared about it. That's always one of the questions that you get asked by anybody who's first getting, like, come on, if the aliens could travel this, how would they crash? Right? Come on, they traveled all this way, light years, and they crashed.
Just a couple thousand miles in a conventional, probably not a conventional airplane. They probably are using the real, true, free energy of this world, static, electromagnetic propulsion. So, people like, what about the secret space program? I believe it. The secret propulsion program to go to the outer space across the Earth plane. Nobody's going up and away. Not even Superman. They're going out south.
I agree, and to hit on this a little bit, I mean, we're going to dig into this a little more with what you're saying. I do have two questions I'm going to try and hit you with, since I told the people here watching I would try to get their questions in for you. One person said, if a person uses the International Space Center tracking app, you can watch it pass over, and as it circles the globe, it comes back around again. We can observe this is a unison and collectively verify if it doesn't change course.
Yeah.
So that's kind of their question. And I know that you've hit on this, and that is an interesting one to bring up because that's one of the ones that people point to.
While we talk about it, I'll let this animation of them building the space station go in effect, because there are no photos, there are no videos of the most technological advanced thing ever, with a structurally impossible tin can in outer space. It's absolutely ridiculous. But so let's talk about it. The International Space Station is about the same size as a 747, right?
Okay.
This you can look it up. And a 747 is huge. When you're standing underneath one on the ground, it's massive. It's almost big as a football field. Okay. And then fly it up to cruising altitude. How big is it? When you see a 747 flying at cruising altitude, it's tiny. It's the size of a pencil eraser held at arm's length. It's gray. You can barely see it. And if you doubled the distance, its angular size would be so small, there'd be so much atmosphere in between you and it, you could not see it with your eye at double cruising altitude. The International Space Station is 50 times higher. 50. So you cannot see it. Now, there is a light. I've seen it. It comes by regularly scheduled. Okay. But if you really look into it, I was thinking for a long time that maybe it was a natural luminary and they weren't telling us what it is. But I now know that it is a NASA-run PSYOP. There's 5, I believe they're B-52 bombers, or one of those bombers that are modified, lit up with LED lights, and they fly them in sequential order, or whatever. They where they're moving, where it's smaller. I'm sorry, I'm losing my words again.
Oh, you're okay.
It's smaller, it's closer, and it's moving much slower than you see. There's times where we see it from horizon to horizon in 8 minutes. Well, I'm here in Connecticut. 8 minutes at the speed that it's going, it should be over California, but I can still see it, and people in California can't see it. There's also times where it says, okay, people here are going to be able to see it, and then all of a sudden it turns off, and nobody in the next state over can see it. Why is that? Maybe they're going to refuel or something. Okay. The International Space Station is a hoax to make you believe that there is a tin can falling around the Earth that's reflecting light brighter than any star, as bright as the sun. When you look at when it comes by, it is so bright. You have to, what's the albedo on that thing? When they ever show, guys doing spacewalks outside, it's not that bright. But when you see it go by, just like a planet, it's brighter than any star in the sky. Look at Jupiter's up in the sky now. This time it's been up with near the moon, and it's brighter than any star. Well, Jupiter is this gassy planet, they tell us, right? A gassy, not very reflective planet. This is from NASA, okay? If you were on Jupiter looking at the sun is going to be tiny because it's so far away. And that tiny sun is lighting up Jupiter, and then it's reflecting that light all the way back to Earth, where it's brighter than any star. I love to say baloney. I'll say baloney.
You can cuss on here. You can cuss on their channel.
Bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. Okay? It's bullshit.
Yeah. No, well, let's back up. Let's do this a little bit, because probably, you've heard some people, listen. You just took away some planets, okay? You're saying space is fake.
All of them. There are no planets.
Exactly.
There are no planets.
It's a big statement. Now, why do you think that is? If someone says, well, I can look through my telescope right now and I can see the planets. So Mr. David here, I've looked at that. How are you telling me what I'm seeing is wrong?
So see this picture. Which planet is this?
Well, we know which one it's supposed to be. That's supposed to be that's Jupiter, right?
It's supposed to be Jupiter, but really it's a meadow with ducks in it, okay? People imagine what they want to see. This is what NASA showed us in 2014. They showed us this picture. Everyone recognizes it. You got your storm and everything, and these are all the clouds. And I showed you these things are spinning in different directions from the time lapse that they just gave us over a couple days. Well, over 2 years later, they go, oh, we got a picture proving that there's a magnetic core because we got the northern lights. Look at this. Right? You don't need Photoshop for this. You need MS Paint. You can probably do this in Word. Okay? You don't even need MS Paint. All right? And look at it. Every cloud is the same. This one's just lighter. Look at the little cloud right here. It's the same. They didn't even make a new model. Okay.
Yeah, and I've
why would NASA fake images of Jupiter if it was real?
Well, I don't know. And to be fair, I'd have to look this up. I could be wrong. I believe with that image, and I could be wrong. I think that they admitted that that it was the same image, and they were trying to show what the storm was or whatever. And I could be off on this. I could be wrong, guys. So forgive me if I am. But
I haven't heard that, but we often catch NASA so bad that they backpedal right away. They literally backpedal and they change their story. Like when we caught them with the Bezos and Branson going into space, we said that they're not going into space. They're just going on a zero-G plane. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson comes over and goes, yeah, they didn't really go into space. They just got a little zero-G, like a zero-G plane, because they have to own it. Because when we expose it, they have to own it. This is what a planet really looks like. This is Mars, right? And here's another thing. Ask me, the people are like, well, the moon is round. Moon is round. Why wouldn't the Earth be round? And I say, well, the lights on my ceiling are a shape, but it's not the shape of my floor. Okay. Yeah. And is the moon round? Are these all round? Right? This one? Well, how about this one? Is this one round? Have you seen this?
Looks pretty round, yeah.
Is this one round? Well, yeah. It looks round. Does it mean that it's round? Maybe it's flat. Yeah, it's flat. Yeah. Right? This one, round? No, it's not round. So you can't, it doesn't matter. Also, don't look at the ceiling when trying to describe the floor. Okay. Right. And then here, International Space Station, where's the land?
Yeah.
Well, you can say I'm over the ocean.
The ocean, right?
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, I'm over the ocean. But look, they always show you a selfie with, they got the solar panel here. Well, guess what? This was filmed in our front yard.
Really?
Just turned it upside down.
Very nice.
Okay. So I'm just showing you with zero budget how easily it is to fake, right? If you look at NASA, at any of their stuff, it all doesn't hold up. Okay. This image here is the external tank of the space shuttle falling back to Earth. Here it is. This is falling back to Earth. Who's filming this? Do you want me to tell you who's filming this? The guys that are actually in the shuttle rocketing into space at 20,000 miles an hour. They're going up. This thing is falling down and it's going to burn up. Watch right here. A piece of paper is going to blow by. Okay. In about 5 seconds. This is going to burn. Oh, see it? You see that?
Yeah.
And how are they filming this? This thing is falling at 1,000+ miles an hour and it's going to burn up before it gets to those clouds. Or is somebody full of crap and this is a helium balloon?
Yeah.
Who owns all of the helium companies in the world and is the largest consumer of helium?
Well, that one I do know because I did look that up. NASA does own the crap out of that one.
Yeah.
They reserve the rights to dictate a lot of things.
How are they filming this in a ship that's going into orbit as this is falling to Earth? This is impossible.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Catch NASA lying once, right? Catch NASA lying once, then you catch them all the time. Why are they faking this in space? Chris Hadfield is upside down singing. This other guy is in another room. They're in green screen's room, and he takes his microphone and he misplaces where Chris is and sticks it right into his neck. Okay? Chris didn't miss a note.
So to be clear, David, so in case someone's not seeing it, that microphone's floating through his head, essentially.
It's going in. There's so many times where they screw up and and they you can see through them. Like this guy. Watch this thing right here. You can see, why am I still seeing that on the wall when his head's in the way? They're fading him in. Right? These are done on zero-G planes. They're done in studios with wires. They're done all different ways. But all you have to do is catch NASA once faking it. Just once. I mean, why do they always wear these heavy harnesses? And I'm saying harnesses. What's up with the belts?
No, I know. I've seen that. It's always cracked me up a little bit.
It's absolute ridiculousness.
That looks like something I'm in construction. It looks like something I might be wearing, right? You need to be tightened down. You need pockets. I get that they have tools.
And if you're in zero-G, why do you even need a belt?
You would say, right? Well, maybe it floats off. Let's throw him a bone here, David. Maybe the vacuum of space takes over. I've seen these videos, and to be fair, guys, I mean, I think anybody can go on, and it's a little bit difficult, but you can find. Why don't we mention that right now? What, the heck of it, people always say, because I've heard this mentioned about you. They said, "Oh my God, that guy David, all he's doing is trying to make money off his app," and it's true. You're selling it for ridiculous, hundreds and hundreds of pennies at this point. I think you're up to.
Yeah, it's 300 pennies.
300.
300 pennies, and you have it forever. And what I tell people is, don't buy the app. Don't buy the app. Go to the app store and just read the reviews, and that'll turn you into a flat earther. You don't even need the app. Okay, just read the reviews from all of the people. It's the highest rated app. And here's the thing. Am I doing this for money? Did I leave my own company? I went to college, worked in corporate America, left corporate America, started my own company, super successful, and I walked away from it all to be ridiculed by clowns that don't even know what they're talking about, that defend a model that they don't know. We have one of our guys who's been touring the country in a tour bus for almost a year now. And he goes out in a public square, his microphone, and he talks to crowds. And when people start to say, "Oh, flat Earth is stupid," he whips out $100 and says, "I got $100 if you can answer 3 questions, not about flat Earth, about your globe." And the first one is, how many times does the Earth spin in one day? Pretty easy, right?
It's supposed to be once, right?
Yeah, it is once. You're right. It's not a trick question. The other question is, and you might even get these. What's the circumference of your spinning ball?
Oh, I always I don't know that one off the top of my head.
24,901 miles. Okay. How fast is it spinning at the equator?
I think, I get conflicting reports, and I've heard 1,100 miles per hour is what I'd heard. And then I've also heard 600. So I don't know.
If it's 24,901 miles around, it's going around once every 24 hours. Divide that out, it's 1,034 miles per hour, just over 1,000 miles per hour. But here's the thing. People that defend the globe don't even know their own model, okay? How do you defend a model that you don't know? And I'm offering 3 Bitcoins for 1 proof. And here's the thing. I've had shows with guys, you're already a flat earther, all right? Just between you and me, you know it, okay? All right. So I've had guys that are like, "Well, Dave, you made a lot of great points, but I still think the Earth is a globe." And I say, "Can you give me 1 reason? It's worth 3 Bitcoins." And they're like, "Well, I'm sure there's one. I was told that. So many people could lie." But it's not that everyone's lying. Your teachers are the ones that regurgitate and memorize and regurgitate the information the best. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, you memorize this book? Okay, you can now teach it to the next generation. Show me curvature. Show me high pressure next to no pressure. Okay.
Speaking of that, I was saying, because these are great points. And before it gets too far, because Champ, he asked a question a while back, and I think it's relevant to what you're bringing up right now. This is from Champ Campbell. Thank you for the question, by the way. He said, if the Earth was flat, wouldn't all the O2 molecules be drawn to the center? So, I mean, do you have any thoughts on this? I mean,
100%. So the answer to that is, you are being gatekept by what's his name, Vsauce, who says if the Earth is flat, as you walk towards the edge, you're going to have to start leaning forward because it's going to pull you to the middle. Well, that's because you're believing in gravitational force at the center. The Earth is not a ball cut in half with a gravitational point in the center. The Earth is down. Down for you is down for me. Up for you is up for me, no matter where you are on this world. Left and right, forward and backwards are subject to whatever direction you're facing, but up is always up, down is always down. The Earth does not move. The Earth is the basement of the universe, okay? That's the best way I can describe it. The Earth is the basement of the universe. It has a negative charge to it. The sky has a positive charge, and there is energy flowing downwards like a river. It's going down into the Earth. That sets a direction of down. Then buoyancy and density sort everything else out. If I had a helium balloon, some rocks, some ping pong balls in my hand, and I held them over a pool and opened my hand, the balloon's going to go up because it's lighter than the air around it. The rocks and the ping pong balls are going to go down because they're heavier than the air around it. The rocks are going to go to the bottom of the pool, and the ping pong balls are going to stay on the top. Relative buoyancy and density, okay? And we can do experiments that show that there is an electric charge to the Earth. We can change the electric charge on something and make it heavier, and we can add a negative charge to something and make it lighter so it floats up.
Yeah. And to be fair, man, I should have saved his name. Ben, you sent me this a while ago. Something Daniel Brown Townsend or Townsend Brown, back in the early 1918, I think it was. Yeah. He discovered this, that the anti-gravity, as it were, was using electromagnetic. He gave positive and negative charges. Yep. He started contracting with the U.S. government. And those were the three things that got me back on. I'm going to give Flat Earth a chance. And why I even found you was, number one, I found out Flat Earth Society. If anybody's trying to look that up right now, that's not, you can go there, but come on.
President Obama plugged the Flat Earth Society a half a dozen times during his presidency.
It's kind of sus. For those in the chat, you now know you have to take a drink. Sorry, Dave. We try to get in there at least once from. They hear the word sus, they got to take a drink. Yeah, like obviously the video you're showing there. So you have, that was a big one for me, and then the Rockefellers and the ones that took over the educational program there in the early turn of the century was another big one for me, because there was a lot of rewriting of the history, whether we want to talk about it or not. And I know it's hard stuff to talk about, but guys, sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. And when there's evidence to show that, and again, I'm not knocking education. I love education. What I'm saying is, when somebody rewrites it and there's facts and provable facts in history to show that happened, you have to at least question it. Because biggest question, I got to give a shout out to my uncle. Him and I go back and forth on this, talking about flat Earth. Yeah, again, look at the videos. He always says, listen, we could prove, he goes, you and I, talking about himself and I, could go out with two sticks in the sun and prove that the Earth is a curve. Boy. It is round. Listen, this is what he said. And we've known for hundreds and hundreds of years. And according to some of the stuff I've been looking up and listening to, it sounds like there were people who believed in flat Earth even into the almost the turn of the century there, the 19th.
Cool 1900s. Story, bro.
Hey, he'll sit down and talk to you about anything. He would.
Cool story. He would hear you out. Let's completely destroy your uncle. All right. Okay. We're going to completely 100% destroy your uncle. So first off, Aristophanes is the Greek guy that's talking about 2,000 years ago that did his sticks and shadows. He said, okay, I'm here. Sun rays come in parallel because, we all know that sun rays are parallel, even though no one's ever seen parallel sun rays. Okay. They never seen them, whether they're refracting or not, doesn't matter. They're not parallel. So he's here in Greece, and there's no shadow on this certain day it was a well. Now it's a stick. Doesn't matter. Same thing. Mm-hmm. His buddy counts his steps for 500 miles and says over here at the same time, there's a shadow, and they measure the length of the shadow, and they did some math, and Carl Sagan goes, and he figured it out within 2% of the size of the Earth. So now they know the radius of the Earth because they did some math based on some shadows with parallel rays that don't exist. Okay. There's so many things wrong with this already, but it doesn't even matter. Let's say he did do that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's say he did. And they measured it and they got it right. Well, on a flat Earth with a small local sun, like we see, where you have a local light, the sun comes down, there's no shadow here. There's a shadow here 500 miles away. You can take the same angles, do the same math, and figure out the sphericity of this completely flat surface, right? Aristophanes was wrong. The sun is close, just like you see. And it works perfectly on a flat Earth. On a flat Earth, sun rays come in they come in crepuscular. They spread out. On a ball Earth, they tell us the sun rays come in straight. Well, what do you see in nature? Do you ever see straight rays or do you see crepuscular rays? I'll answer that for you. Crepuscular. Okay. On a flat Earth and a ball Earth, the angles do work with those separate situations, but we can observe the sun rays. They are not coming in parallel. Earth is flat. Aristophanes proved it.
Now, what if in that test that Aristophanes did, what if he'd added one prior to, it wouldn't have mattered, right? If he'd added a
third well, you're watching Neil deGrasse Tyson on his.
Oh yeah, we got to wait it out, right?
He will not talk to us, but again, he did his show with I forget whatever studio he's in there, and they're coming after us. Like, oh, well, the Aristophanes, it works on a flat Earth and a globe Earth. But if you add a third well or third stick, but he said, well, it doesn't work. And that's all he said. He said it doesn't work on a flat Earth. But in his diagram, he showed that it is working. In the third well, it was at an angle. It wasn't straight. It does work. No one's ever done the experiment, but it works on a flat Earth. Okay. Yeah. But he just said it and people just believe it. It's unbelievable.
I think it's important to look anything up.
Say, Dave, you get so fired up about this. I get fired up because it's so people are so stupid how easily they'll believe crap. Okay. It's unbelievable. Aristophanes was wrong. No shadow, sphere. This is a sphere. Don't let your eyes, believe the nonsense. Don't believe your common sense.
Well, I'm just saying, I had to put that question out there because I told him I'd ask you at least once because it's something we've gone back and forth on before. And I told him, and I could be wrong. I said I believe that works on both, and you've confirmed it. Sounds like
it does. And now, did you see my interview with Ruth in February of 2020?
I did not.
Ruth, 102-year-old woman, right? Okay. I met her, and I was interviewing her about the World's Fairs, never mentioning flat Earth. And she was telling me she had been to the New York World's Fair and how it lit up the world. And I was investigating free energy and mud floods at the time. And she had such a great memory. I said, hey, what did they teach you in school? Now, she didn't go to religious school. She went to Connecticut Public School in Hamden, Connecticut. She knew the name of the school, the teachers, the kids in her class, and what road it was on. And I said, what did they teach you about the Earth in elementary school? And she said, they taught me the Earth was flat. That's here in the United States in public schools in the 1920s. They were teaching flat Earth. And we're told that Aristophanes figured it out 2,000 years ago. Did we not get the friggin' message or something? What happened? Rockefellers forgot to update their textbooks? This is all nonsense. We found newspaper articles in the New York Journal, which I believe was the previous to the New York Times, in the early 1900s about teachers being persecuted for teaching heliocentrism. That's the ball, right? Why are they changing what we know to be true? What all of our senses tell us, right? We're not spinning through corkscrewing through a heliocentric solar system, right? Spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. How fast are we orbiting around the sun?
66,000 give or take.
66,000 give or take. We'll just call it 66,600 because that's what they tell us it is. Yeah. And then we're chasing it about 500,000 miles an hour. Okay. Let's just fathom those speeds like we did what 1 trillion miles is, or 25 trillion miles. That's the closest star, remember. So this is the hypersonic sled. It's going to go by at Mach 8.6. Watch it and don't even try not to blink because it doesn't matter. You still can't see it. Okay. Mach 8.6. We're orbiting the sun 10 times faster than that. 10 times in a speeding up and slowing down, a curved linear path. When you're curving, that's acceleration. Okay. 10 times that speed. If that's not bad enough, we're chasing the sun. We're chasing the sun at 90 times that speed. 90. And that's corkscrewing through space, right? And we have lakes that tell us what? What are these lakes telling us?
Yeah, I mean, this is the I gotta state
nature doesn't lie. Nature doesn't lie. What is that lake telling us? What is this lake telling us? Use your common sense. Still. No. It doesn't look pretty still. It is pretty still. It is perfectly still. Okay? It is perfectly still.
But they tell us that's because of the atmosphere. Now, and I got to say with that, I hate because they say it's just the atmosphere. I know, but I'm saying that the reason we're spiraling through space like that, and the atmosphere, because of the way the atmosphere works, it keeps everything intact.
All right,
and in place.
Cool story. So let's talk about that. So we're told that the atmosphere, there's a gradient. This is what the ballers tell us. It's a gradient. It gets thinner and thinner and thinner. It's the air's thin on top of Mount Everest. It gets thinner and thinner and thinner until there's no more air. Then you have a vacuum. Okay. The space vacuum can't suck the air away from Earth, but because of gravity, but I can with a straw with the weak low pressure of my lungs. Okay, I could suck water and air up and away from gravity with effortlessly, but the vacuum of space, Tor 17 vacuum, which you can't even fathom. You know, NASA has their vacuum chamber. It's 10 or 11 feet thick of steel and concrete, the walls, so it doesn't implode when you suck the air out of it. Okay, but they can have a friggin' tin can space station in a vacuum and a vacuum next to Earth. Now think about this. If they say gravity's holding it on. So if I had an open shoebox filled with air and I held it level and I removed all of the air from the room, that air in the shoebox is going to stay there because gravity is going to hold it there. That's ridiculous. Okay? That's ridiculous.
I mean, and to hit on that, I guess, too. I mean, to be fair, right? I got to at least be fair about this and call out both sides or whatever. I have seen some call you out and say, well, now I'm not taking anything away from what you're saying here, but some have said, well, Dave's model of how we're moving through space is wrong. So I just got to ask you myself, because I got to go straight to the horse's mouth. Is that a model you just went and made up in your basement? Is that just
which model?
Showing us how we're going through space? They've said Dave's model of how we're traveling through space is completely
not my model. This is science's model. They tell us that we're corkscrewing through space at those speeds. I would never make up such a stupid story, right?
Oh, yeah,
I have 100 Bitcoin offer. You want to hear my 100 Bitcoin offer?
Go ahead.
100 Bitcoins for anything dumber than the heliocentric model. Anything, any category, nothing. There's nothing dumber than the heliocentric model. Okay. Right. It's so dumb. And here's the thing. Why the lie? Right.
Yeah.
They're lying about who we are, where we are. They're lying about our divinity. They're lying about the power that we have, or they're lying about the resources on Earth. They're keeping us slaves in a prison. That's the ball. Okay. They have us in a prison, and they also have us playing with Monopoly money. Look at your money. It's the same color as Monopoly money. And in Monopoly, it says, if you run out of money, just write more on pieces of paper and keep playing. Well, we're playing on that. They don't need money, right? They control us with money. So we need to stop playing with their money. Get off of it now before they make it digital, and then you have no choice, right? And people say, oh, cryptocurrency is bad. Well, some of it might be. That's if they can control it. Get off. Yeah. Get on stuff like Monero and Pirate Chain and Darrow and Hex. And there's all sorts of cryptos out there. If you don't know about crypto, this is the time, right? Every 100 years, something crazy happens. Every 100 years, 1920. You know what happened in 1920? Won't want to say it here, right?
Yeah, I know we can't say it.
Everybody was, suffocating themselves and sticking things into themselves and dying, right? But then there was a massive wealth opportunity that happened. Yeah. It happens every 100 years. Crypto, the right crypto is the way to go. If you don't know anything about it, start learning. Just watch a little bit. In the app, there's a link for crypto lessons. If you want to just learn, it's easy. Okay.
Really quick, Dave, I got to ask you a question because I'll fall behind on the chat form over here, guys. And I am trying to keep up for you. I apologize.
Yeah. More questions. I love questions.
Yeah. Champ Campbell again has another question. It said, explain I'm going to say this word wrong. The
Coriolis effect.
Thank you.
It's an optical effect. It's not real. There is no Coriolis effect. Now people say, well, the water spins opposite south of the equator. You got these hoaxsters at the equator where they literally have a straight line drawn down, and they walk 10 feet on one side and pour water in, and it goes one way. And then they walk to the other side. It goes another way. It's just the way they're pouring the water in the bowl. They've been doing it forever. I have toilets in my house that go in opposite directions. Toilets in Australia do not go in opposite directions. Now, storms south of the Tropic of Capricorn and north of the Tropic of Cancer do most of the time spin in opposite directions. And that's because of the wake of the sun. Okay. The wake of the sun and the moon, as they spin around, their electromagnetism, or the force that they make is pushing the plasma, pushing the air. So if you push your hand through a tub of water, you're going to get opposite spinning vortices on the opposite sides. But sometimes when a storm is coming up north and the sun and the moon aren't anywhere near it, it will cross. And we have storms that spin the opposite direction every year. It happens. Well, if Coriolis was real, that would be impossible. Coriolis, say, well, snipers use Coriolis. That's a lie. We've talked to so many snipers. They count wind, drop, distance, humidity, temperature, everything, but they do not calculate the spin of the Earth. Think about this. A sniper is looking at a guy 2 miles away. He got him right in the scope. He goes, okay, where am I? What angle to the spin of the Earth? How fast is the Earth spinning? All right, I got to move my target over here so I can hook the bullet and hit him. It's ridiculous. It's the dumbest thing ever, okay? It's not happening. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's hit on, this is an important one because I don't know how much more I got you for. I want two things I want to hit on for sure. And guys, like I said, please put any questions in caps. And I know I missed a couple anyway. So if I did miss them, put them back in there again for me, please. Let's talk about two things. Well, the three things that got me back on even looking at Flat Earth. Number one, finding out that the Flat Earth Society is basically a psyops and ran by the government. That was a big thing for me. And they even admitted it. I think it was in 2016. They came out and were like, yeah, you got us. We were just showing that we use fancy words, that that we can convince you of anything, but they're still running it. That was number one. Number two was the treaty, the South Pole. The Antarctic Treaty. Yeah. That was a big one for me. And finding out that no one has ever, at least according to your information, circumnavigated going south. But please hit on the Antarctic Treaty, because I do think this is an important one for people to take a peek at.
So in 1959, Admiral Byrd said that there's land filled with resources, and they're like, oh, nobody can go there. A dozen countries signed on, and then the rest signed on after that. The longest standing treaty ever to protect the penguins and the ice. That's what it's for, right? And they don't want the Russians sneaking underneath the Earth, which makes no sense because they're literally at the center, which is the top of the ball. It's all absolute insanity and nonsense, right? And it's still in place. Name another treaty that's lasted this long, even simple little treaties, none of it works, right? So we can talk about circumnavigation, but let's talk about plane flights, okay? This red line is the equator. Southern locations, right? From here to here, Johannesburg, from what does it say? Buenos Aires? What is that? Buenos Aires. It goes all the way up to Amsterdam and then all the way down. It crosses the equator twice. Why is that? Okay. Here's another one. From Auckland. Is that Auckland? Yeah. Auckland to Mexico City. It stops in Los Angeles. Why doesn't it just go straight over? Why does it go to Los Angeles first? There's plenty of tourist sites in Mexico City that they can fill up planes. It might even be a shorter trip, but they go here, and that's because this is what it looks like. Again, crossing the equator. Okay. Here's another one. Why don't they just fly across here? Why do they go all the way up Los Angeles? And the answer is because they go here, over and over. This is the route, right? On a flat Earth, it makes perfect sense. Another one, right? Why don't they just cut across here? It's the same amount of trip across the water, but when you look at it on a flat Earth, it makes perfect sense. It makes zero sense on a globe. Southern location to southern location most often cross the equator. Here's the equator. It's a straight line. Well, why would they go all the way up here and all the way down? Right?
Well, my brother had an answer to this one, and we got to at least put it out there. People would say, "Well, come on."
Let me tell you what he's going to say. He's going to say because they need there's more people in the north, and they need to stop at those airports, right?
Pretty close. I mean, he said refueling.
Yeah. Well, refueling. I just proved that wasn't wrong because they're flying longer distances than the direct route, and there's plenty of people that want to go direct. These flights are sold out with people from the origin to the destination. So why do they need to go way, way out of the way? Look at this one, okay? It goes all the way up and over, but it's a straight line. Now, here's something. There's everything inside of the circle is the north. You can take a origin and a destination of any two spots in here, and never once will any plane cross the equator. Never, ever. There's a northern spot to another northern spot, cross the equator. Never, ever. Okay. So if you look at this, like this one, So take the southern latitude of these two airports and the distance. Find in the north at the same northern latitudes and the same distance, two airports. Well, if the Earth is a ball, it should go all the way down, and all the way up. If that was the case, they say this is the Great Circle Route or whatever. Nonsense, right? They're taking these long routes because there is no short route. Sydney to Lima, Peru. It stops in Los Angeles. On a ball, that's insane. And this distance here from Los Angeles to Sydney is longer or close to the same as the origin to the destination. It's nonsense.
Yeah. No, I listen, I admit that if these routes are indeed, and again, everyone should look up information for themselves. Now, this one right here that you're talking about, the northern navigation versus southern, was the one that bothered me too.
Yeah. So this was the ZQ pilot. We're like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And we could track them, right? And went from here to Australia to Alaska, California, out here, and then up to these islands, over to Santiago. Then they went to the South Pole, supposedly. Then they're like, oh, the weather's too bad, so we're going to change the route. And we're going to come back up through Brazil. And they went around and we're like, oh, well, they didn't get it. They were going for the world record. And then Guinness gave them the world's record for southern circumnavigation. Look at it on a flat Earth map. He basically went here, turned around and came back and just flew around and said he circumnavigated the world. Does that make any sense to you?
No, I'll be honest, and maybe I misunderstood, but even the first model doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, it's the same thing. I'm just showing you what it looks like on a flat Earth map, right? Yeah. And then so people are like, well, what about circumnavigation? There's people that have circumnavigated the world, like Amelia Earhart, right? Amelia Earhart, these are all the stops that she made. She circumnavigated the world traveling east or west. East and west are the only way to circumnavigate the world. The center of the flat Earth is magnetic, so the compass will always point to the center. So I'm trying to push this compass west, and where's west? Is it a straight line? Nope, it's a circle. Right? This doesn't prove the Earth is flat because it's the same on a globe. Yeah. Right. And then east is a circle. Right. I got to keep the compass pointing towards the center. So I got to keep turning. I am dead reckoning east as a pilot or a ship's captain or driving a car or swimming or whatever it is. You would not know that you're turning to the north. You're correcting. Now, if I don't correct to the north and I head west, I'm immediately heading south.
Yeah.
I'm heading south.
This one bothered me the first time I heard it because you essentially had said, you're only ever heading north or south. And I was like, well,
No, you're only if you just keep going in a straight line, every direction is south.
Right. That is correct term. Every direction.
It's difficult.
It's a weird thing to hear. It is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
So I'm going to go south here. And if the Earth was a globe, I should magically pop up over here. But I don't. No one ever has. Okay. And now I'm going to bring it back. I'm going north, 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 north. And as soon as I pass the North Pole, look, the compass did a 180. And now I'm heading south, south, south in a straight line. Every direction is south.
And there's man, see, my uncle would know this. He sailed on ships and he was actually a captain for a while and stuff, but he dealt with it. So about this, Tony, text me if I'm wrong, but there's a correction in there, right? When they're navigating, isn't there something that tells them how they have to adjust their compass when they're sailing near the
magnetic declination. So at different areas, there's different magnetic declination. So you got to look at it and it says north is this way. It goes, well, north is actually 10 degrees off of that. You're like, okay, north is that way. And so you have to check your magnetic declination. Now there's places in Antarctica. Okay. I forget exactly where, but when you're here and your compass says north is this way, it's 170 degrees different. When it says north is this way and you're pointing towards the actual north, it tells you that north is behind you.
And you believe that, I'm assuming you would believe that this is to keep anyone from ever actually drifting past the 60th parallel line, correct?
Well, the first thing is compasses don't even work in Antarctica. They work horribly because you're too far away. I mean, honestly, if you're on a ball, they should never work because they'd be pointing down towards your feet. Okay. But then people say, well, the magnetic forces, does they come out the North Pole and they wrap around the Earth, just like the light wraps around the Earth. We can see too far. Magnetic lines go straight across the Earth plane. There is no gravity. Gravity is the dumbest thing. It's dumb, but it's so dumb. It's part of the heliocentric model dumb. how do we have these planetary alignments where all their gravities are interacting and nothing ever changes? Okay.
Oh, they're tidally locked, like the moon, right? With the Earth.
They're tidally, you assume, right? Don't make me put my glasses back on. Think about this. We have our distant sun. Okay. We have our sun, which is a gas ball in a space vacuum. That's a problem. Okay. Huge problem. You got a gas ball in space vacuum, and it's holding on to Mercury, Venus, Earth, Saturn, Mars, right? Jupiter. It's holding on to all of them that are such vast distances apart. And somehow those little rocky balls are holding on to their own small rocky balls that we call moons. Okay. Yeah. Why doesn't the sun rip our moon away from us? Why, when the moon is coming around the Earth towards the sun, doesn't it speed up? Because the sun's pulling on it too. Why does the sun's gravity ignore all the moons and only hold on to the planets? Okay. The three-body problem is this. They could take a world supercomputer and they could put a sun in it and a planet and set it in orbit, set the gravities. It works perfectly. And they can figure out where it's going to be every second of every day for the next million years. But then they do one thing. They add another moon going around the planet or another planet going around the sun. And the entire model goes into beehive chaos. And they can't predict what it's going to do next.
I know. I admit that it stays the same, right? Because we have, and I've even brought this up before when we're talking about ancient megalithic structures and stuff, saying, hey, they built these with different, basically, ways to look at astronomy, and some of those same keyholes, as it were. Even the Georgia Guidestones uses this. That they knew this is going to operate the same. And I do believe, though, I thought that it's based off the North Star, but doesn't that move? Isn't that moving over time? Every in 40,000 years, it's supposed to move a little bit, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It used to be Thuban 40,000 years ago. And then in 40,000 years ago, there's going to be another star, right, lined up there. And we just happen to live in the time where the North Star lines up with our North Pole. Okay. And it hasn't moved in all of the history that we know of. We'll just go back 100 years. It hasn't moved when it should have. If it's moving, it should be moving, but it doesn't. You look at the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah.
While we're corkscrewing through space 4.5 billion miles a year, right? Never returning to the same spot again. All the other stars in our galaxy are also moving. And somehow through this little hole, we have the North Star that when you do a time lapse of it, it shows all the other stars going around. This alone proves that we're not moving and the sky is turning above us, whatever that sky may be. Okay. However far it may be, it's not very far. It's turning above us. And there's no denying that other than your unwillingness to let go of your childhood ball and face reality and realize that we've been lied to our entire lives. Okay. If I told you that your parents are you adopted? Before I tell you this,
I was.
You were?
Partially.
Okay.
Adopted.
Well, if I told you that your parents were serial killers and every time you went to bed, they go out and they eat children, you'd be pretty upset and you probably wouldn't even want to look at the information. Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
Cognitive dissonance is a big problem.
And it's because you built a whole worldview around them. Right? Everyone has their worldview, and this worldview was put on us on purpose to limit us. We are limitless. We have amazing abilities that have been stolen from us. The reason that they're hiding all of this from us isn't about money. It's about controlling our minds, separating us from the creator, and limiting our powers, and literally keeping us here as slaves. Okay?
Yeah. Well, to that, though, I mean, to my mind, if what you're saying is true, right? If we're saying that we don't know how many other extra territories or land could be out there, that's kind of exciting.
Yes. Right? And it's here. It's close by, right? There's extra. I just I drove back from the Flat Earth Conference in South Carolina, and I listened on audiobook to the Iron Republic, which is a
Oh, good
story.
stuff.
Yeah, did you listen to it or read it?
I have started. I'm a couple chapters in.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And now, whether the Iron Republic is real or not, if it's real, okay, flat Earth proven. If it's not, how were people in the in the late 1800s, early 1900s had all of these ideas about technology and government and the world being flat and where we are. I mean, the story is so intense, so immense that it's almost impossible for it to be a story, in my opinion.
And that is something that's been pretty earth-shaking in some ways too, is finding out a lot of the information about the mud floods and what took place and how we've essentially excavated a lot of our history. Because we always talk about ancient Egypt and different megalithic structures, but there's some structures that were built even in the mid 1800s that if you just stop and think about it for a minute, you're gonna go, they built it with dynamite. They blew that up.
Impossible. You look at these buildings that we couldn't even build today. The antiquitech on them, it's their technology is so far beyond anything that we can even imagine. And then you look at the pictures, there's nobody around. There's like a horse and buggy and two people maybe. And like, who built this? For who? How did they build it with horses and buggies? We couldn't build it with today's greatest cranes and greatest masons. All of that technology is been stolen from us, right? Now, who stole it? I don't know, right? The evil bastards here, you can point to a lot of the religious institutions that are controlling things. So, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I had a question from Matta. I believe it's Matta. If I'm saying your name wrong, I apologize. I believe you're new to the channel, so I appreciate you. And they have a lot of questions, and I apologize I can't ask all of them here.
No, ask them all.
Well, he's pretty fired up, so I'm trying to get through them and make sure I ask the right one. He had a specific question. It was let's see, because I want to make sure I read it right. It had to do with compressed gas and pressure. I'm almost back to his original question. I believe he said right here, atmospheric pressure is not the same as a compressed gas pressure. So
yeah. Well, so again, there is a gradient. You can take a container of gas and it's heavier on the bottom and lighter on the top. Inside a container of gas, it's pressurized because it's in a container. Air pressure needs a container. You need to have a container to have pressure. There's something for it to press against, right? Now the Globers will go, well, here's a gas without a container, and they have a pipe and they fill it with gas that has no top. That pipe is a container, okay? Buoyancy and density will hold, you can put one gas into a tank and have the tank open because it's denser and it doesn't float out. You can't have gas pressure without a container.
We'll see what they end up saying. I'm sure they'll have an opinion about that. Another one from our my good buddy here, Chad Smith. Chad Smith, you're doing so much work in there with the wrench tonight. I appreciate it. I know they're fired up over there, so I appreciate you doing all the hard work tonight. He said, it's 32 years here on the Earth for him, and he said, from what I can tell, covering up the whole shape of the planet would be a giant waste of time compared to all the other issues we have. He said that's just my humble, just his opinion.
That was mine too. So the answer to that is, with all the problems going on in the world, it's because of this lie. It's because if you're spinning out of control on a speck through a godless universe where you don't know who you are, where you are, what you are, you don't know that nobody has power over you. The only power that these governments, the mind control, govern the mind, have is in your imagination, right? They don't want you to know that you're free. They don't want you to know that there's unlimited resources. They don't want you to know that nuclear bombs are fake. They don't want you to know.
That's a hard one. I won't lie, dude. The first time I heard someone's, and that's a lot.
You got to go to Crow 777 Radio, look up the nuclear bomb episode. In 1 hour, they will prove to you that nuclear bombs are fake. Just real quick, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 3 days later, the trains are running, the flower shops were opening, the sandwich shops are opening. People are back to work, okay? And nobody's allowed to take a picture or write an article except one guy. And if you took a picture, you were put in jail. If you wrote an article, you were put in jail, okay? They have less cancer there than we have in the United States, okay? It's nonsense. It's all nonsense. And there's video of them stacking cases and pallets of TNT at what they call ground zero prior to the blast. Okay. And all around city, all of the buildings that had fireproofing didn't collapse. And the ones that did burn down. Does that sound like a nuclear bomb? Not to me. It's all about fear.
Yeah.
All the wars are funded by the same people on both sides. All this division of countries is nonsense. It's fake. It's all to divide us. We were one human race. Look into Tataria on the app, Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. I'm here to sell a $3 app. That's all.
In the show notes, guys.
I'm bullshitting you. I'm bullshitting you to sell you a $3 app. All right. Okay.
I apologize. Sorry, I took a sip there.
No, it's all right. Click the Tataria button and bring food and water because you're going in deep.
One last question here, really quick, or two I got for you. Lee just asked, and I believe you covered this already a little bit. Why does water form Well, I'll hear your opinion. Why does water form spheres? Is what Lee would like.
Water does not form spheres. A drop of water where the surface tension can create a sphere is because of the way surface tension works. A large body of water, 5 gallons or more, lays flat at rest, period. Large bodies of water at rest lay flat. We can see too far. I don't know how far that we have to see for someone to believe that the earth isn't a flat. It isn't a ball. A baller would believe that this is the physical horizon. This is a famous viewing spot from Illusion, France. When you're looking out here, Mount Canigou is 175 miles away. At that height, according to globe math, not flat earth math, globe math, the top of that mountain should be over a mile below the physical horizon, right? If the earth is a ball, there has to be a physical horizon, okay? And from this altitude, at this location, that physical horizon would put the top of the mountain at a mile below. But on a couple days a year, when the sun lines up on its migration, you can see the mountain right there where the mouse is. That should be a mile below the curve, but it's right there. And the ballers will go, "Oh, that's because the sun and the mountain are over the earth, and it's refracting up, and it's staying there right at
it's all about
eye level. Yeah, it's a refraction right there at eye level, and the refraction is good enough to block out the sun. You know, my answer to that is."
You know, one last thing I'd like to leave people with, and Matt, I apologize. I mean, obviously, if you do email David, if you have your own podcast, he has a lot of questions. Sorry we didn't get to all of them there, but I know we only had Dave for about an hour here. But I would love if you could just throw up the video, if you wouldn't mind, showing that you did in your kitchen there, because I think this is an important one for perspective at the sun setting and why we can see so far. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's every 8 miles we drop.
No.
6 feet?
It's no. It's 8 inches per mile squared. Because the earth is diving off faster and faster, you have to square the miles. So 1 mile is 8 inches, 2 miles, it's 2 times 2 is 4, times 8 is 32 inches. 3 miles is 6 feet. So if the earth is a globe, a 6 foot tall person standing at the edge of a calm ocean should have a physical horizon no farther than 3 miles away. Well, I can go to a calm ocean and watch the sunset and the boats, and they're 10, 20, 30 miles away. Okay. Well, that's impossible. That's impossible. Right. So we're jumping into the sun setting. So, you know, this is the sun setting in Afghanistan. One of our soldiers took it, and it's just going away. So this is because there's no humidity, there's no pollution, it's a super clear day, and the sun is clearly just moving away. So when they say, well, if the earth was flat, the sun would get smaller and smaller, atmospheric conditions have everything to do with it. And the reason it looks like it's going down is because of angular, the way we see it. So this line is level. It's over my flat earth counter, and I'm moving the sun across it, viewing it from a celestial vantage point, from an elevated vantage point. This could be mountains, a city skyline, trees, or cloud deck, whatever. I'm above it. It's opaque. Now I have another camera that's on the flat earth counter at the other end where it started, and I'm filming, looking up at it, and we'll watch it again from the other angle. Kind of looks like it's going down. If I showed you this first and said, is this line level? You'd say no. I'd say, is this going below this thing that's at my eye level? It looks like it's at my eye level because it's in the distance, but we know it's higher. It looks like it's setting behind it. behind a physical horizon when we know that it's higher? Now I'll compare it to a real sunset. Same thing. Sun's been going down, 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 down. But look, what's it going behind here? Is that a mountain?
Refraction.
Is that a mountain in the distance that we can't see? Or is that just going behind the atmospheric deck of opacity? I say it's the atmospheric deck of opacity. And that's provable. If I zoomed out, you could not see the difference between that line and the parent horizon because it all merges together into the horizon, right?
Yeah. You can only see so far. I mean, that's the other. Well, we see too far. Here's the main thing I'll say to those. Go ahead.
Let me just show you this. So I'm filming this. It's below freezing, no humidity, super clear, and the sun was going down, 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 down. In 5 minutes time, it went from up there, and it should just keep on going if the Earth was spinning, but it didn't. It went down, 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 and then it stopped, and it sat here for 10 minutes. This is super sped up. And it never went below this apparent horizon. It just disappeared into the thickness of the air because its throw of energy, its throw of light, its throw of electricity couldn't excite the molecules anymore. It couldn't push through. I'm just going forward and backwards here. Okay. And that's what happens when the sun goes away. Now, my friends were at the beach. They saw the sun set 10 minutes earlier, just like I did in the Flat Earth Counter, because the sun went away and it's set behind the hills and the trees that look like they're at eye level, but they were hundreds of feet over their head.
You know, here's the thing, and I'll say this too. And guys, I apologize. I know the chat is on fire tonight. You guys have got a lot of opinions over there. And what I would say about this, and I would put this out to anybody, is that I don't want you coming away from this, regardless of your decisions and point of views, saying, well, Dave convinced me or Dave didn't convince me. What I want you to be is curious. So guys, keep it respectful of each other. Opinions, have them. I'm okay with that, but maybe easy on the personal attacks. Not that we've had too many, but it's just to talk about this, and it should make you ask questions. And I understand you guys are fired up, but it's simply to say, go look this up. Dave is offering, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, get the app. What is it, 10 days?
3 Bitcoins, 2 weeks.
I don't know what they're going for. My brother would know. My brother's a day trading for that stuff. Yeah, I think
50,
it went back up 67.
Well, whatever. It's 180 grand, whatever it is. Hold it. It'll be worth even more later. All right. But here's the thing. If you're upset with me, one proof of the globe, all you got to do is send it to me. If I can't destroy it in one sentence or show you one video explaining what you're seeing, then you come on our debate show, you present, and we discuss. And if you're right, you win.
Yeah. And you know what I would really love to see, Dave, and this is to another thing that kind of got me back on board, is I like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? I really liked him. He's got a great voice. I'd listen to him.
Poor judgment on your part.
I said I liked. That's past tense. Yeah. I still respect the man if some of the accomplishments that he's accomplished. If he did. Okay. But
he did nothing. What
I will say is where he lost me a little bit is when you guys asked some questions, and some people asked legit questions that said, explain gravity to me a little bit. And he held out a microphone.
I don't know what gravity is.
Well,
he dropped the microphone. Yeah.
To me, that was a little insulting because, like I said, for me, recognize my own ignorance, and I wanted an answer. I said, hey, help me out here, right? Educate me. I understand you say 96% of you don't understand, but like, what are we dealing with? And if it is a magnetism thing, would that make sense? Why, when we touch what are those little balls, you go to the science museum, right? You touch them and your hair would stand up. Is it simply just a negative and positive charge? It's affecting. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying I know any of this stuff, but I'm curious.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We don't live on a spinning ball. You're not insignificant. You're at the center of creation. You have total control over your life. There's no shortage of resources. There's no systemic racism. There's none of the nonsense that they want. They're steering your mind with the news, north, east, west, south. Okay. They're controlling the limit of the throw of your manifestation ability because you got no place to throw it to. You're on a ball. And on that ball, you think that it's overpopulated. Every family in the world can live in Texas with 1/4 of an acre, and they can grow food. And the overpopulation is a myth. Water's a myth. Shortage of water. All of it. They want you insignificant, lost in space, not knowing who you are, taking poisons when natural things could help you. That's all I'll say about that. They want you thinking that you're flawed and that you need to trust big corporations to fix your flawed system that keeps you healthy. Okay. You need to do crazy things, right? They're controlling your mind with cartoons.
It is. I will admit, excuse me, when you try to look up actual images, just the moon alone. What do we have? One image, right? I believe 77 or whatever it was that they sent. There's one
from
image
the Earth, from the Earth from the moon.
Well, I think they took it from the. Well, again, space is, but I believe we were told they took it from being up there in the Apollo there, and you can see how it's not very bright. And I know we've talked about this in the past. Even my buddies and I have said that, and I get the moon's the biggest enigma.
Right.
Okay.
So this is the shot from the moon, but we got the picture. Rob Skiba, who passed away recently, got this from their website, put it into Photoshop, cranked up the levels, and there's a box around it. This is crappy photo, not even Photoshop. Whatever they did this in, I don't even know, but they didn't get rid of the box. They didn't know that we were going to have Photoshop. And since then, they've taken this picture down and they've changed it. They recropped it and maybe they put it back. Okay. This proves that the only photo of Earth is fake.
You know, here, and I think this is just me, and I've heard that flat earthers say they're wide open to this. They say, and for those in the chat that say, hey, I wish someone here that has some intelligence could chat. Listen, I'm right there with you. Okay. I recognize where I'm at with this, but people need to recognize that you guys have tried, from my understanding, and nobody's reaching back out, right? They won't accept
nobody
this.
can. Well, this one is the Japanese film, this Earthrise from the moon. And I really can't debunk this one. This one really makes me think that the Earth is a globe. Because look, you can't fake this.
This is part of the problem these days. This is
what they're showing us.
Okay? I'll admit, like I said, I have a problem with what NASA provides when you really dig into it. When they're pushed, it gets a bit hairy.
And wait, I didn't finish answering the question. Maybe I did, but if we knew who we were, where we were, what we are, the power of our mind, the creation, nobody would believe the nonsense that's going on. They would have gone, hey, there's this thing going around and you need to get this thing stuck into you by these companies that have been caused they only make money when you're not healthy. Okay. Everyone would be like, shut up. Go away from me. I'm perfect. God created me perfectly. I don't need poison. Okay. Right. So when people say, Dave, with all the nonsense going on in the world, why are you talking about flat Earth? This is how we got into the situation. You need two things to get out, but stop using their money and stop believing their nonsense. Understand where you are. Put your big boy pants on, drop your ball because it doesn't exist, and see where you are. Right? See where you are.
Yeah.
Take your power back. Take your power back.
One last question from Chad Smith, just because he's working so hard in there tonight. He said, couldn't NASA just stop throwing so much money into engineering and produce equipment to keep lie going? I mean, they take our money and do with it what they want already. Why do they need to lie? Because I believe we've covered this a little bit, but
NASA gets like $63 million a day. Okay. For what? Would they create Velcro? No, they didn't even create Velcro. Okay. NASA doesn't really get that money. NASA is just a total psyop. It's taking the money from us. People are like, the IRS is good because I got $3,000 back this year. Did you forget about the $50,000 they took from you?
Don't get me started on tax.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Marty Leeds 33 on YouTube. He just uploaded an old video, I think it's from just a year or two ago. Awesome. It's called We Need to Talk About the IRS. Everybody watch it.
Okay, one last one from Y. And this is kind of relevant to what you were just hitting on. And it's a fair question. Are all scientists in on the conspiracy or simply being ignorant?
So on the app, under the frequently asked questions, are all scientists and pilots in on it? And the answer is absolutely not. What scientists? How many scientists are there? We know Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye, the lying guy with the bow tie and lying box, right? These guys are the spokesmen. These guys know. There's many people that don't. we talked to a guy that runs the Hubble telescope, and for like 20 years he's been doing it since it's been up there, or supposedly up there. And he admitted that he's never seen a live image from the Hubble. He just gets data that's sent to him. Right? There's a university, I forget which university, they have their own satellite, but anytime they want to access it, they have to ask NASA. NASA gets them the information and sends it to them a week later. That sounds legit.
Agree.
Okay?
I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, I don't see. I mean, there are a ton of questions. I'm trying to find some that you haven't already covered, because they're hitting on some that you've hit already.
Yeah.
One last thing I'd like to add here, because I know you got to run here, Dave, and I appreciate how long you've hung out. Unless you have some more you want to share, I just don't want to hold you up, because I know
I'm good. If you have more questions, bring them, because
for sure.
Because you know how they say there's no dumb questions. They're all dumb. There's only dumb questions. Okay.
509. I didn't see anything in caps. I went back. I saw your one that said ask questions. I didn't see anything in caps there. So if I missed it, try to put it back in really quick. Another one that Adam Ambrose has is, if the earth is flat and only has people living on one side, then how can it be that when it's dark on one half of the earth, it's light daytime on the other side? And that's a fair question for when we're talking about being flat earth plane.
It is. So when the sun moves away, as I showed you with that sun fade out video, its light can't throw all the way around. It's low, and its angular size, it makes it just go beyond the opaque horizon, called the atmospheric deck of opacity. And you can't see the sun. But if you compare, this is time and date showing you on a flat earth map what the light does. And here is a dome, and we're just moving a source light, kind of makes the same patterns, which is kind of interesting. But again, when the sun is just moving away, you can't see it. If you go in a dark room and get a flashlight or just a bulb and hold it close to a table, well, the other end of the table is going to be dark. Right? Now add some atmosphere in there where that light can't push through it. Like you're looking through a pane of glass, no problem. Put 50 panes of glass together, you can't see a light through it. Okay? So the atmosphere works the same way.
You know, that's another good one we didn't get to bring up that I wanted to hit on, was the dissipation, and I've used the wrong terms here, but the way that light breaks down, and there's a better term for this, but when it spreads out, when you shine it in direction, and that's always bothered me with how bright the moon is on a full moon, and then the sun. Wouldn't the sun's heat, and guys, I admit my own ignorance here, but wouldn't it scorch us? And I get the atmosphere helps with the rays, but if it gets here in 8 minutes, I don't even know the temperature of the sun off the top of my head, it's got to be hot, right? Like, I mean, really hot.
Sun's not hot.
I know. That's why space cold.
The sun's electric, right? If the sun was, we're right in the Goldilocks zone. Well, the higher up you got, the hotter it should be. But it's the opposite. It's electricity that's coming down. That's how solar panels work. They collect electricity, not photons, right? So everything in this world is electric and magnetic in nature. We're electrical beings. We're humans, we're light beings, right? We feed off the energy of the sun. The sun is the source of all life in the world. It's not a burning ball that happens to just be working perfectly for billions of years, where we evolved from pond scum. That's the dumbest thing ever, but that's the heliocentric model. So you don't win your 100 Bitcoins. Okay. It's, when we send balloons up, the sun is always off to the side. It's never above the balloon. Okay? I think that the sun that we see isn't very high at all. I think it's within the Earth system. Okay? I think when I see the sun rising on the horizon, I think it's less than 100 miles away. That's the sun that I see. Now, we've done some longer shows showing the optics, what we call the personal atmospheric dome. And we all see, the sun manifest in a spot relative to our own position. Okay. So if we're all inside of, this is our personal dome, and the person's in the middle, this intersection of light is where this light manifests in the dome. So over here, it's evening. Over here, it's noon. Over here, it's afternoon. Right. If the sun comes back, you can say this is the West Coast and the East Coast. It's going backwards though. So this is early morning, this is late morning, this is noon, this is afternoon, right? If the sun was going this way, of course.
Now, I have a question about that then. And this was a
Good.
question I was asked by a friend, and we were discussing this a while ago. It looked right here perfect. I'm glad you pulled this up because we were talking about this image, and I understand how it moves in and out, the sun does. But we've said, okay, if this is how the sun is moving and I could get it, why is it I see it right over top of my head sometimes? How is it right over my head? And somebody in Texas, it's right over their head too.
Yeah, let me show you. I'm going to share my the app for a second. Can you see that?
I sure can.
All right. So I'm going to let the sun move here. Now, if you were in Texas, which is, can you see my mouse? My mouse is right here. But Texas is over here. The sun is not going to be over your head. It's going to come all the way over here. It's going to be lower in the sky because we're going into the winter. Mm-hmm. Okay. The sun is away. Where the sun is over your head is here in Central Africa, here in Central America. So I'm going to move the sun forward to December, November, December. So it's over the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay. The sun is not over anyone's head in the north because the north is here in the middle, right? It's over, when it comes over Australia, people in Central Australia will have the sun directly over their head as it passes throughout the day. So at solar noon, it'll be directly over their head. And they're having their summer while we're having our winter. The sun is farther away from us, so it's lower in the sky, just like a street light down the road. It's lower in the sky. That's our winter street light. And the one that we're standing under, that's our summer street light. It's high in the sky, but they're both the same height. One of them's high directly above us, lighting me up, heating me up, and the other one's far away, barely getting any light on me, barely getting any heat on me. So now I'm going to jump at 6 months to June, and now it goes right over Miami, directly over their head, right over Texas, directly over their head. Australia is having their winter because the sun is farther away. It's lower in the sky, just like the street light. Okay. That's how seasons work. The idea of seasons on a tilted ball is ridiculous because on June 21st, on a tilted ball seasonal world, it should be freezing cold at dawn as soon as the sun at sunrise, because one, the sun is at the most tilted angle it could be. Two, we're 3.5 million miles farther from the sun, farther from the heliocentric sun than in our winter. During the northern summer, we are 3.5 million miles farther away from the sun in the heliocentric model, right? So, but in June here in Connecticut, when the sun rises, I can feel the heat on my face as soon as I see it on the horizon. I could feel the heat of that sun, and within 10 minutes, I'm toasting in the sun. It's hot already. Yeah. But in December, at noon, when the sun is as high as it can get in the sky, and according to the heliocentric model, it's 3.5 million miles closer, I can't even feel the heat on my face. A much more direct angle. If you can process that information, you'll understand that the tilted model is destroyed. Again, in the app, if you click the question mark and you go to the seasons button, click that, it'll open up YouTube. Yeah. And then there's a playlist. There's a playlist of videos that will explain it better than I did and show you, and then you can go out and do tests yourself.
Let's see. I have so another one we have real quick here is from 509. And the only reason I'm finding it is because I guess he said YouTube was censoring his question, so he had to rewrite it a little bit different. So it may not make complete sense, but it says Enoch, Thoth, Saint Germany or Germine, are they outer territory beings of light or angels? Now, I don't know if that's really relative to what you've been talking about, but that's his question for you.
It is, but I don't know the answer to that. There's other people that talk about that. Zen Garcia is one of the channel you can listen to. He knows a lot about that stuff. What I'm showing you here are flat earthers that are near me. This is the flat earth friend finder. Okay, there's flat earthers everywhere. Let's take a look at Florida. Down in Florida, Populate. Bam. These are all the people. And there's so many more than this. You know,
Right.
this is only less than 1% of the flat earthers. Way less. I mean, because my app, only 25% of the people on my app have put a blue dot on the map. And I'd say my app is in less than 1% of the flat earthers on the earth. So do the math. It's like at 20, 30 million people. I don't know what it is.
And I believe you already answered this one. Chad, once again, is asking, why are we seeing 80 days roughly of sunlight in Alaska? But I believe you kind of already covered that in your previous diagram.
Well, it's because when the sun is in close in Tropic of Cancer, it never gets far enough away from Alaska to set. Okay. But then when it goes all the way out to the Tropic of Capricorn, it never gets close enough to Alaska to rise. Now, if the Earth was a ball, lands that have the same southern latitude as Alaska should have the same thing, but they don't. There is no 24-hour sun in Alaska. There is 24 hours a night because when the sun moves all the way into the Tropic of Cancer, Alaska's having all 24-hour sun, and the sun never gets close enough to Antarctica to rise. But then when it goes all the way out, it can't be near it. It can't be near this side of Alaska when it's all the way over here. So it doesn't. There is daylight, as I showed you in that other the model, where the sun wraps around the dome. Okay. And again, we can model this and show you that the sunlight would wrap around the dome. See, when I move it out, it wraps. See the light? There's your 24 hours of daylight, not sunlight. The sun is always here in the center. So the sun is moving out here. And so people over here can't see it, even though the daylight does wrap around there.
I do have one other question, one last one, and I don't mean it in a controversial way. I'm just trying to make sure I word it properly as far as what I'm trying to, I guess, say. Because you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to make sure I use the words that you said. You said you believe the sun might be roughly 100 miles in the air, or what was the exact terminology? I forget what you said exactly, how you worded that.
Believe this is me. I believe that the sun that I see is way closer than they're telling us. Okay. And the sun is more of a projection or a reflection. So, when you're driving down the road and you say, Mom, the moon's following me. The mom says, shut up, kid. You're a fool. Well, they're right. The moon is following you. You're seeing it as a reflection. So you're seeing it relative to your own position. Yeah. Okay. So I say, you ever watch a movie on a hanging sheet and they project it from the rear? Okay. A rear projection.
Yes.
And then it shines through the sheet and you can see it. But if you look carefully at that sheet, you can see the light coming from the projector. You can see the light behind it. Okay. So imagine that's just a spotlight, a bright light, and you're looking at it through what I call the sky sheet. You see a bright spot on the sheet, but as you move, that bright spot will move across the sheet. It's moving with you. Okay. So if you and I were 10 feet apart and we're both looking at the sheet, and I send someone to the sheet, I said, I see the light right there, and I draw a circle on the sheet. They walk over, you're going to see that same light 10 feet apart from my light. Are we seeing two different lights? We're just seeing them manifest their projection into our reality based on our position.
So this is a couple rapid fire questions. Sorry, there's some fun ones here really quick. Fun one from Chad. Would Dave take a free ride in SpaceX rocket?
Straw man argument, but absolutely not, because nobody goes up in these rockets. Let me show you a SpaceX rocket and tell me if you're asking me a Disney question. It's absolute nonsense. If you watch any of these rocket launches, they're absolutely pathetic on how fake they are. So this was what I'm going to show you is a recent SpaceX launch. Okay. Yep. Look at this thing. This thing is going to Mars. All right. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Right. And they edit. Oh, fire, smoke. Look at this thing going up. Look how slow it's going. Now, this little non-smoke, this is CGI. This isn't real. This is fake smoke. It might even be real smoke, but look at this thing. Look at the thing. Now, hold on. Now it's going to It's look when it goes back and forth between the shot. Look how low it is. You can tell it's low because it's got a good angle to it. Now look how high it is, right? Then to go back. Now it stopped shooting. So now this thing weighs like 40,000 pounds. Is falling. It's free falling. Does this look like it's free falling? Look at the speed that the steam is coming off of this thing. That free falling. This is free falling back to Earth. Now watch this. This is now look how high it is all of a sudden. This is their film. I didn't edit this.
Yeah.
Okay. It's free falling. Now the engines are going to come back on. It's magically going to turn upright and land right where it took off from. Okay. Now look how high it is. Look at this. And now it's free falling. Now watch this. I call this the amazing cameraman shot. It's going to get right underneath it. Look at this. Oh, so brave, right? And now 2 of the engines are going to go out. Watch. 2 of them went out. Now look at this thing. This thing is 40,000 pounds free falling, right? Now watch CGI smoke. Okay. And now it's landing. Let me ask you a question. If I could put you in a cartoon with Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner, would you do it or would you be afraid? Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah.
No, I had to ask it. I mean, Chad's been. He's been
how about this, Chad? Maybe if I got on the Chinese lander and I landed on Mars, because this is the only proof that the Chinese landed on Mars. Look at that shadow. Hysterical. Hysterical. Okay. Ours is not much better. Right. And then, you know, the if you look at Bezos and his nonsense, you know, that whole thing again. Right. Here's a rocket that took off the other day. Watch this. Watch this. Something goes wrong with their helium balloon rocket and it just kind of falls sideways. And they're like, well, here it is again. And then they're like, oh, they're looking for it. And they zoom out. And all of a sudden it starts rising up like magically. Oh, look, here it is. You have to believe this thing's going into space. This is a helium balloon with a little firework on it. Okay. So saying, would you go to space in a non-existent rocket? This is Jeff Bezos' rocket.
Yeah.
You know what his rocket looks like, right?
Yes, we are.
Right?
We've all seen the memes.
And look how the motion of the cameraman. What's he doing? What's he doing? They're mocking us. Okay, they're mocking us. Okay, so nobody's on that thing. Okay, nobody. It's all nonsense. And then this with Richard Branson. This is a 0G plane, right? He looks like he's about to puke, right? And then they this is filmed ahead of time. And then they landed him in his little plane, and he lands, and now it's grounded because the FAA said they went where they weren't supposed to go. So he's kicked the can down the road. Everyone's like, well, they're going to have hotels in space. They've been saying that since the 1970s.
Yeah.
Okay. Kick the can. This is what they're doing. They're fooling you, and they suck at it. Okay. They're horrible. This is a 0G plane. This is what we see when they show us them really floating.
That was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it's
so this is what it looks like.
It's just cutting back and it's showing you how a 0G plane works. You know, Richard Branson and Captain Kirk and all of them, they got 4+ minutes of 0G, but they can only show us 3 seconds at a time. Okay. It's a bunch of edit, cut. It's nonsense.
It is a lot to take in. I'll say that. One last question here, guys, since I don't see one from the chat, even though there's some other comments, it was from, oh man, I just had it. I told him I promised them I'd message them and said I will ask their question. Hang on 1 second.
You got it.
Why did it slide down on me? Right here, it said, question, the Bible mentions the 4 corners of the earth. If FERs are using this as as flat earthers are using the flat earth evidence, then the flat earth model would be a flat. Yeah, see, I don't think you said that. Would be a flat earth square, not a disc, right? Is the question.
It's not a disc. First off, I never use the Bible ever because the science proves it, right? Because if you use the Bible, anyone that doesn't believe in the Bible is immediately eliminated. Okay. So I'm not the Bible guy. My co-host on the Flat Earth podcast, Matt Long, he he is a Bible guy. But the Bible supports flat Earth. In the app, just click Biblical Flat Earth. Even if you don't believe in the Bible, watch it. It's very, very interesting. Amazing things. The Bible backs up flat Earth, right? And flat Earth is all about God's creation. So there's a lot of truth. There's over 200 verses in the Bible that support a flat Earth and 0 that support a ball. Okay. But the 4 corners of the Earth, the Earth is not a disc. Okay. It could be an extended plane that could have 4 pillars on it, right? And you have your 4, your 4 corners. I don't know. I can't get it. We're not allowed out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that, and again, Ian is bringing this point up. He said, well, here we go with Dave. Every time he's got an answer, he points you back to the app. And
I point to the app because Google Flat Earth on YouTube, and you might as well just be a baller for the rest of your life. You're not going to find anything. Okay. Don't buy my app, Ian. Remain a baller and keep yourself limited. Waste your life. Now, there's people that are having good lives. They're doing okay. They're happy. God bless you. Okay. Me, I was doing super well. I was making more money than I ever thought I could make. I am happier now. Life is amazing. The people I'm meeting at that conference, they're all my best friends. Okay.
Yeah.
You have no idea the potential that we have, and that's being kept from us. Okay. That's being kept from us.
Yeah, no, I agree that people, and then like I said to him when I answered this, I said that no one should ever take any, but I mean, even with what you're saying, we should go and look these things up, find them out for yourself, whether it's to disprove Dave or to see if what he's saying and agree or indeed is true.
Ian, I have an idea. You should buy my app. You should buy my app for all of your friends, and you should also become a Patreon of mine at the highest level. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And make sure you subscribe and pay yearly instead of monthly. All right. Because the $11 a year, I can get an extra 99 cents out of you if you pay. Well, actually, pay monthly. I get an extra 99 cents out of you. The app is $3. Mm-hmm. That's it. Right. And you get so much stuff for it. But if you want to be able to message other flat earthers, it's $11 for the year. Essentially, you bought me a margarita and you didn't tip the bartender very well. Okay.
Yeah. You always got to tip them.
Yes.
Always got to tip them.
Yes. But bitch about my app. All right. Bitch about the one tool that is waking people up. The one tool that is bypassing YouTube's algorithms. The one tool that is bringing people together. Okay. And letting them collaborate and expand this awakening. This awakening could be the only thing that saves us from the tyranny that's happening right now.
Not impossible. I think if no matter what, guys, and I would say this for those that are getting pretty fired up right now about, all right, here we go. They're coming in. They're instantly seeing flat earth. They're laughing. Okay. I get it. But do this.
I laughed too. I heard flat earth. I laughed. I ridiculed and I refused to look.
I think too, guys, step away from it. Say it wasn't flat earth. Say it was anything. If you're the type of person who believes everything, and most of us in here believe in aliens. Okay, guys, let's admit that most of us do. And even if you don't, that's okay.
I do. Extraterrestrials right here from Earth. They probably speak English.
Yeah. Yeah, you covered that right then a bit. He did, for those that might have missed it. But I'm saying is that take flat earth in a different context. Pretend it's not flat earth. Just it is a thing. Doesn't matter what it is. It's just a word. And approach it in that manner. Try to come at it from a position where you don't know the conclusion yet, and then really try and go and formulate that conclusion yourself. And that's where it gets
Bitcoins. Collect your Bitcoins. One proof of the globe. One proof. Okay? It's easy.
Yeah. And guys, anybody that might be listening to this in podcast format, listening back, all show notes are in there. You guys will be able to check that out. And I do highly recommend that you hop on the YouTube channel. If you have not already subscribed, please do so. Like the video, ring the bell. And I'm going to say you need to watch this with the video. It really helps to get the concept of what's being talked about. Because I'll admit, even when watching with the video, you're still like, man, I don't know. This is a lot.
It is a lot.
One person did ask one last question. I'll end it for you guys this week. We got to let Dave go here. Vinman is asking, what was the tipping point for Dave? So Dave, what was your point of no return?
Yeah. So after I finally was forced to look, I went in with a closed mind, right? Flat earthers are stupid. I'm just going to prove the globe. So then I started watching all of this stuff. I watched Mark Sargent's Flat Earth Clues and 200 Proofs by Eric Dubay. And then I started watching some other stuff. But then I started seeing all of these. All right. If the Earth is a globe, what's the curvature? And I looked into the curvature formula and I realized There has to be a physical horizon when I'm standing at the water's edge, no farther than 3 miles away. Well, I live on the water. I know that I can see beaches 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 miles away. Okay. That doesn't make any sense. So I watch all these videos where how things disappear from the bottom up, and then you zoom in and you can bring them back again. Okay. Things disappear from the bottom up for a couple of reasons, and not always the same reason, because it's depending on the conditions of the day. So I went out and bought I'm not just going to believe a YouTube video. I bought a $1,000 super zoom camera, the Nikon P900 at the time, a good tripod. And I went down, I started zooming in on things, doing the math. I'm like, even if the curvature calculator is off by 50%, not a 60-foot drop, only a 30-foot drop, I'm still seeing things that I should not be able to see. Okay. Large bodies of water at rest lay flat. We can see too far. Refraction is a thing, but it's bullshit when it's coming to what we're seeing in all different conditions, cold, dark, humid, not humid. We're seeing things perfectly clear.
And that's one of my things is that a lot of this, what's argued about, when people get so upset with each other about, it works on both a flat earth model and a heliocentric model or sphere. And if people would just sit down and not be so aggressive, first of all, I got to ask that question, guys. And I don't mean this, I understand it could just be my own ignorance, but I don't understand the aggression behind it. I know I
can understand it. I think you said it wrong. Some things work on both. Some things work on the east-west circumnavigation works on both. Southern circumnavigation doesn't. Well, it's never been done. Interesting, right? There's plenty of things that work on both, but there's plenty of things that work just on a flat earth. We can see too far. Okay. But nothing only works on the globe model. There's nothing. There's not one thing you put in the globe only basket. There's not one thing. What does that tell you? And the reason people get so emotional is because of this. You were programmed before you can talk that the earth is a ball. You love balls. Everyone loves balls. Okay. Balls are fun to play with. They bounce. Okay. And we, whatever. You could take that down whatever road you want.
Oh, but I'm sure they will.
Yeah. And as a child, you have mobiles with solar systems on it, and you had a globe. And I even bought my son, a squishy globe, right, as a child, right?
Yeah.
Before I knew. But people don't like having their ball taken away. Literally, you're taking a ball away from a child, because if you believe the earth is a globe, you are a child. Your mind, you are a child with childhood beliefs, because belief is the enemy of knowing. Belief takes no effort at all. You believe my name is Dave. Have you ever checked?
No.
Okay. You haven't, right? And it takes time and effort. My name is Dave. Okay. But it takes time and effort to do these things. There's evil people in this world. And here's the other thing is there's so many people like in your chat that are not shills. They're defending something that they were programmed to defend. They're laughing at something they were programmed to laugh at. They're not even shills. They're just programmed to tell live vision programming.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, for me, it's something that, guys, if we just step back and you recognize the history of what went on in the turn of the century there with the education system, it begs to a lot of questions. And I would say this, going back to the alien thing again, is most of us, not saying everybody, most of us don't necessarily trust the government. And if you don't trust them on other things, if they lie to you about other things, why is it? I know it's a big one. I know it seems like a big one, but what's the difference? What is one lie to another lie? In my mind, one is all. In a sense. Now I get some are bigger than others, but if they'll lie about some things, why not another one? One last question, guys. This is the last one, I swear. Ask Dave about sail drones circumnavigating Antarctica with GPS tracking. Very easy to look up and verify for yourself.
Very easy to look up and see a couple articles written about this little drone that sailed around where no one else could go. It's a complete and total nonsense. Yes, they did build the drone. It did have a little solar power sail on it. It never happened, right? There, if you look up at the Antarctic race that sort of goes around Antarctica, well, they never go near Antarctica. They're above 50 degrees south, okay? They're above 50 degrees, above 50 degrees south. And these sailboats are capable of going like 40 knots, okay? But GPS tells them how far they went according to the globe. And so they're like, oh yeah, we averaged 3 miles an hour. What? These sailboats that in no wind can go 10 miles an hour. Okay. They're averaging 3 miles an hour. No, they're going greater distances and their math is off. Right. So when you actually look at these things and not just believe this ridiculous story with a couple photos of this little drone, it's the lamest argument ever.
They say prove it didn't happen, Dave.
Well, yeah, prove it didn't happen. You prove it happened. It's your claim. You prove it.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
These are by the sound of your questions. You have trolls. You have real trolls coming.
Yeah. We always we get them.
Yeah. They follow me. By the way, the comment section is going to be filled with these guys. Go check out their channels when they comment. They got nothing. Right. I call them the all-out globe proof channels. There's nothing on them. Nothing.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Let's end it on this one, guys. Tammy says the van is a hot box for sure tonight. Willie, great show. Yeah, there's a lot of opinions in here tonight, and we're obviously pulling her back into the garage because we've gone way over for Dave here tonight. Yeah. And you guys, like I said, I mean, this is something that for me, I'm a person who likes to encourage people to look things up for themselves. You should know why you believe what you believe. And if you don't know, and I've said this, I don't actually know what we're on. I don't accept all the answers.
I don't know what we're on either. I know what we're not on. We're not on a spinning ball flying through a space vacuum.
You know what I would love, and I know they won't do it, but I just want to see it because darn it if I don't like a good debate. I would love to see anybody that NASA gave, anybody with the status quo that the people want to sit down and debate and have the debate with you guys.
They will never do it. They'll never do it. They even said we'll never talk to flat earthers because we don't have time. And now, Obama said we don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson said no, we don't have time to, something. The science is settled. Science is never settled. Okay,
I hate that saying. The science is settled.
But then he spends, video after video after video, literally responding to all the flat Earth stuff, pretending that that we didn't hear that. It's all his job is to make you believe you're insignificant, living on a spinning ball, flying through a space vacuum. With that said, you can find my stuff. If you can't remember the name of my app, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, it's just flatearthdave.com will bring you to my website. There is a fake app out there by the Flat Earth Society, the Ron Media Group to be exact, on the Google Play Store with the same name. So if you get that app, fine. Just don't send me an email telling me my app sucks because my app is the highest rated app in the store. Check it out. Read the reviews. Don't buy the app. And you can find that. No, you actually can't find this stuff on YouTube, and you'll spend like 500 hours of research will yield you what an hour on the app will yield you as far as research. So if your 499 hours are not worth $3, you shouldn't really be in this researching field. Okay. You probably have some better things to do. And I'll leave you with, don't let them control your mind with cartoons because that's what they're doing. Okay. They're controlling your mind with cartoons.
Yep. I believe, like I said, everyone should look it up and know for it for themselves and maybe just take a step back, One last thing, Dave. Actually, I missed this one from my buddy. He says he's seen the curve. He went up way up in a plane. Way up there, he said.
Yeah. So Neil deGrasse Tyson says that you cannot see the curve from 120,000 feet, right? So on an airplane at flying at 39,000 feet, the horizon that you can see out the left window and out the right window, and if you drew a line, it goes right across your eyes, it should be 78,000 feet below you. Okay? 78,000 feet below you. What you see when you're looking out, so the viewer, the person is right there. You see in the same you see the same distance in all directions. Okay? So if I flip this over, this guy is the limit of his vision. This is the limit of his vision. You draw a line out there and you see this curve, right? Because you can see the sky farther, but you can only see the land this far, same distance in all directions. And this is the curve that your friend is seeing. It's not the curve of a ball. you can't see the curve of the ball.
Well, people claim they have in the plane. That's what he says. He says he went up on the plane.
They think because you're seeing the same distance in all directions. You're seeing that curve. I have a round dining room table, and one day the light was on it just right, and I took a picture, and I kind of washed out the background a little bit, and it looked like a sphere. It looked like a big wooden ball. It looked like a big wooden ball until I told you it was a table. You go, oh, it's a table. And so when you're looking at things, you really can't tell unless you can physically touch it. And when you see the horizon, you're seeing it you're seeing, this is what you're seeing. You're basically just seeing you're seeing a curved, the limit of your sight is curved.
Right. Do you think that the windows it has to do with this? Like I always wonder on the airplane.
The windows are also curved. Right.
Okay.
They're curved a little bit. They're curved a little bit, so that will bend it down. Right. So if you're looking through a curved window, that's what you're seeing. But you can kind of center yourself on the window and not look at the edges of the window. But just because you're seeing a circle, you're seeing the circle, which is the limit of your vision. Right. And that's not the case at all. Also, like, are these tables the same width and length?
It's hard. Yeah.
Are they the same aspect ratio?
Yeah. I mean, or no. I mean, they don't let.
Yes, they are. They're exactly the same. Okay. So again, your eyes easily deceive you. And if you listen to the high priest of scientism, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he says that at 120,000 feet to the Earth, you cannot see the curvature. So.
Well, and this is where I say, guys, you just got to go out and try to engage them. I'm sure there's people out there anxious to debunk this and put the flat Earth stuff to bed. Finally, right? Last night I checked, I heard the numbers are way down. They said that more people were looking up, I believe it was pubic follicle hairs than flat Earth.
So no. That's because no. YouTube. We were watching the trends a few years ago, and the searches for flat Earth were outbeating Miley Cyrus, outbeating President Trump. There were everything. All of the top ridiculous searches that people look for, flat Earth was beating all of them. And I think right after it passed Trump, during the height of Trump, guess what YouTube did? They took down the scoreboard. There's no longer, when you search, it doesn't tell you how many results there are. Okay. They took down the scoreboard because of flat Earth. Now they have algorithms that are just hiding all the results. If you search, one of the most popular videos is called A Stranger's Guide to Flat Earth, 21 Questions by ODD TV. You can type in that exact name and channel name and search, and it will not show up. You'll get Professor Dave. You'll get Simon Dan. You'll get Vsauce. You'll get Bill Nye. You'll get all of this crap, which is gatekeeping for your mind. Okay. Now you have to, when this whole fake news shit came out, they had a congressional hearing. YouTube was in a congressional hearing, and they used flat Earth as their example. Well, we're just we'll censor flat Earth. We won't let them. We'll send them more authoritative stuff. Now, under this video on YouTube, there's going to be a Wikipedia link saying that flat Earth is an ancient, already debunked, belief, and that's not the case at all. There's still places in the world now that believe the Earth is flat. Okay, you publicly. Flat Earth is massive. Flat Earth affects everybody every day.
Yeah.
And until the world, they know that if everyone woke up to flat Earth, we'd all see through their nonsense, and we'd all stop giving them our power. The only power governments have is the power on us. If one person fights the government, they're in trouble. If everyone fights the government, you don't even need to fight.
Exactly.
Okay.
Don't forget, they are simply public servants. Don't ever
They're
forget
not.
that.
They're Satanists.
They're supposed to be public servants.
Yeah, they're supposed
but I'm saying
to be.
They always call them the leaders. And I'm like, guys, these are elected members, but that's another time. Well, Dave, I tell you what, I got to wrap it up here for you because I know it's been too long, and we'll wrap up those over there at the party on the chat. I'm sure it'll continue after we're off, long after off. But once again, guys, if you're listening, in the show notes, check it out. I'd say come check out the YouTube channel. The Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app should be in there. Once again, that's by the Blue Water Bay. And he also has, if you go and check out the video, he has the little barcode right there for you. excuse me, so you guys can take a picture of it. It'll pull it right up for you. I did personally get that several months back, and I have to admit, I've met a lot of great people locally within, I'm talking a couple miles of
Did
myself.
you use the friend finder to find
I
people and
did.
message them?
Yeah,
And
yeah, a
now,
couple.
now you know that you can hit the radius, the button that tells you how many people are within whatever radius you
Mhm.
selected. You can now message all of them at once. Hey, we're having
Really?
a meetup party at Joe's Bar and Grill Saturday at 3. Bam! You just sent it. Like for me, I have almost 200 people
Nice.
in my radius, so I can bam instant meetups.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Shout out
Anyway,
to,
let me ask you a question.
go ahead.
How awesome is every single person that you met on there?
Oh, they've been great. I mean,
Awesome.
let's say
Awesome.
shout out to
Yeah.
Sylvia Bell. She's put
Yeah.
out offers to me like to come over and have dinner and everything, which I'm going to take you up on if you're watching this. I am.
There's
We've
people
been
that are
busy.
getting married already because of the
Oh my
app.
goodness. Hey, it's
It's
hard to find
already
flat-ass chicks.
it already happened. It's already happening.
There you go. All right, Dave. Well, we really appreciate you coming on tonight and hanging out with us, and answering as many questions as you could. I
Right.
really appreciate it. And for everyone in the chat, I hope you had a good night. Please continue the conversation. Try to respect each other. Defend your position. I am all for that. Keep the personal attacks that are a little egregious towards one another to a minimum, but have fun defending your point of view. And as I always end saying when I end the show, stay curious and keep it weird.
Nice.
Oh, hang on. Hang on.